So if you're listening to this, you probably, well, if you were hoping to listen to this bright and early on your Monday, you probably know that it didn't release bright and early on Monday, as it mostly does. That's because we've had to adhere to an embargo for Saints Row, which is just Saints Row. It's Saints Row 5, technically, I think.
Yeah, they did the thing I hate where they reboot the entire, like, I don't hate reboots.
The number.
Don't get me wrong. Reboots are cool. But when you remove the number, just call it Saints Row Reboot. Saints Row or something. I don't know.
That's not SEO friendly.
Give me a funny pun or whatever, but don't just call it Saints Row, because good Lord.
It's just Saints Row now.
We have been playing the Saints Row Reboot.
So it's the same developers, Volition, back. I mean, it's been a while since they've made a Saints Row, because I think they did Agents of Mayhem in between, which was not received super well.
That did not do well.
And they've been working on this for quite a while. I think this is only on current gen consoles, if I'm not mistaken. I might be wrong about that. But yeah, we've both been playing on PS5. I've only played like maybe the first 2 hours, maybe. You've played a lot more than
played maybe 4 to 5 hours, I'd say.
Yeah, we only got code on the Friday, so I mean, yeah.
And
this is not
sheer chance we're recording on a Sunday, so we actually had time to play.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. This is not a review, like full and ending review by any means. This is like a review in progress, if you want to put a label on it. Like, but yeah, what have your experiences been with this new era of Saints Row now?
So I always like to give a bit of context for, to give listeners / viewers a bit of understanding where I'm coming from. So I missed Saints Row 1 and 2, and then Saints Row 3 rolled around, and I don't know how I got it or why I bought it, but I played it and I loved the hell out of it.
You and I are the same. I also only started on Saints Row 3.
Yeah, and at the time I didn't know this, but Saints Row is, and I don't mean this in an insulting way, but it's budget Grand Theft Auto. It's like... I think Volition knew they don't have the resources of a Rockstar, but they wanted to be in that
who
world.
Does? Yeah.
Who does? So they just went and made their own open world game, but to set themselves apart, they made it like super, super zany. Like it's really off the wall, crazy humor. But with still the same sort of open world tropes you would find in a Grand Theft Auto. You can climb into a car, hijack people, rob people, do all sorts of crimes, but with a weird twist. So yeah, I played 3 and 4 and I loved the heck out of them. Missed Agents of Mayhem, and yeah, I'm actually quite...
Is 4 the one where you're like a superhero, essentially?
Yeah, that one went all in. It's kind of like Crackdown, I guess, where the premise was, I think, if I recall, you were like in a simulation or something, so that was a good excuse to run around in an open world with superpowers.
Because 3 you were the president.
3 you were the actual president.
Yeah, you start the game as the president, but you're still robbing banks, which is super, super strange, but yes.
Yeah, so I don't know how this game's story parallels to the first game, if at all, but the premise here is that you and your crew are criminals trying to pay rent, because, why would criminals pay rent? Who knows? But you working for you start out the game as getting a job for a high power security company. One of your roommates works for the Los Panteros, I think, and then another one works for God, I can't remember the name, but they're basically like a bunch of influencers, this gang. It's kind of like a but fast forward, the story basically, the setup is that you guys don't want to work for your gangs anymore, so you're going to start your own gang, aka the Saints. So it's like the origin story of that.
Okay.
But as you'd expect, it's crazy. It's just dumb, stupid open world shenanigans. And the writing is meant to be like off the wall and hilarious. Like I've had a few moments where I've laughed where like I was fighting someone, I did a finishing blow to them, and somebody in the area watching was like, damn, what amino acids are you? I was like, that is so
it's very it feels very, at least from what I've seen so far, very modern humor. It's taking hits at like modern millennial or Zoomer culture.
That one gang is 100%. It reminds me of I've never played Watch Dogs 2, but you know what I'm talking about, where there's like this young gang who, you know, is very tech capable, wearing Daft Punk helmets, if I could call it that.
With emoting like
with emoting faces. Yeah,
okay,
so it's definitely like a parody on that generation. And yeah, it's like we've only played the opening few hours, and I've had fun. But yeah, there are some hiccups with the game, if I could call it that.
Yeah, I mean, we were talking about it before we started recording, but I've only played the first 2 hours, and it's like the gameplay itself, like the loop of just, you know, open world shooting and the whole feel of the third person action, it feels very old, like out of time. This is a game
very dated.
Yeah, like if it came out maybe 6-7 years ago, would maybe feel in place then, but it just feels weirdly dated, like from a mechanical standpoint today, and you know, fairly limited in that regard. You've got pretty normal guns. You're just shooting guys. You can press triangle to like auto snap to explosive things and automatically shoot them, which is pretty neat. But yeah, it just feels very loose and strange, and
it's weird that a modern day game. So here's a good example of you can't snap to cover, which just to me feels very weird because, you know, a modern day third person shooter. It's a lot of cover
shooting almost.
Yeah, modern third person shooters, it feels alien to not be able to run up to a low wall and just like snap to cover and then, you know, aim over the wall. And then you think, well, surely I can at least crouch, and you can, but it's a directional pad button. Which
the button mapping in this game is so bizarre.
But, yeah,
it makes very little sense.
It makes me think that was almost like an afterthought where, you know, I don't know, they made this game and then people testing it like, why can't I at least crouch? And like, oh shit, okay, well, we've mapped all the other buttons. Let's add a crouch animation and tie it to the down directional pad. It's just very, very archaic in that way. And I don't know why. Like that to me seems very strange. But even the shooting itself also feels a bit loosey-goosey initially. Like I've gotten a lot more used to it. Being on console, there's a lot of, I guess, leeway. It's very forgiving in that if you aim, it like snaps to enemies. I'm using that to
very quickly. It snaps to their head.
I'm using that to my advantage now, where I'm not trying to, you know, I don't aim and then pan left to right to get to the enemy. I sort of look in their general direction, then I aim because I know it's going to aim directly on them. So that took some getting used to. But yeah, a bit weird in that way that it's kind of weird that it's a reboot that feels dated. It kind of feels like the older games, and I don't know if that's intentional, but I can't imagine stuff like that is intentional.
I mean a lot of it is over the top because it still feels like that is the vibe they're going for. Like if you're watching the footage right at the beginning, Matthew was like flipping cars with a bulldozer. Like it's still that sort of ridiculous nonsense, and the physics kind of reflect that. Like everything is just so bouncy and so floaty and but it does make things like driving feel bad, I think. I don't think the driving feels that good. Although you can do things like drift with X or sideswipe with like square, and that feels pretty great because it makes car combat feel cool. Like it feels, but like just driving a bike or a car down the street just doesn't feel that great. And then there's just some strange, I think, decisions design-wise with like you have to use finishers to replenish your health. But the finishers are such long animations. You do a finisher on an enemy and all the other enemies just stop like dead in their tracks until you finish this 5-6 second animation. You know, like if you're thinking, you know, Doom Eternal, for instance, like did this thing where you do finishes to get health back, but because that game is so fast paced, the animations were fast paced to kind of
very quick,
you know, stick with it. This is like, it's a whole pause in the gameplay that everyone just kind of has to watch you do. And it feels so strange to just see everyone like stand still and watch you like stab this guy 3 times so you get your health back. And then they're like, okay, cool. Now I'm going to shoot you again, you know?
Yeah.
So just weird. I don't know. It just feels strange. Like right at the beginning, I was just like, this seems odd. It doesn't feel right. You know what I mean? But at the same time, you get some cool finishes like that one you just did there where you shove a grenade in someone's pants and then throw them to a group of enemies. So that's pretty cool, you know.
That's great, yeah. There's a bit of a bug animation there. I was gonna say I've had some weird ass bugs affect me. Just even not like game breaking, but very immersion breaking in the early hours of the game. But I mean, I guess that's why the description of budget GTA fits. It's one of those things where if you go into the game knowing this is a sort of experience you're in for, like you're not going to get disappointed because the open world to explore and the missions, like it is zany, like it is fun. Like I mentioned, I've enjoyed some of the jokes I've seen, some of the dialogue, and it's not meant to be serious at all. Yeah, if you acknowledge that, I think you'll have a great time with this game. Despite its rough edges. I mean, and again, this is the opening hours. Like I can't tell you, the game's going to change in 10, 20 hours that I'd feel like, oh yeah, the driving's suddenly better or the aiming's much better. But, I know now this is sort of the vibe I'm going to get for the rest of the game. Like, look at that.
Yeah, I think to me, it's like, if you enjoyed previous Saints Rows, you'll probably vibe with this just as much.
I'm pretty sure you enjoy this, yeah.
Yeah, I think it's very much in that same vein, even though it's a reboot. But maybe that's what's disappointing about it. If you were looking at this and being like, okay,
like a modernization,
I thought 3 and 4 went in such a ridiculous direction. Like, okay, it's pared back from that. Like, you're not a superhero. You're not playing like Saints Row Crackdown, like you suggested. But it's definitely still that sort of game. It's whacking over the top, and the mechanics reflect that. It's very loose with how it feels and plays. And yeah, I mean, I don't think if you played a Saints Row like 3, put it that way, and didn't enjoy that, you probably won't enjoy this. I don't think.
Yeah, I think that's a fair comparison because I think this game will target a lot of newcomers, or not target them, but it's a lot of newcomers will come to this game going, oh, like, what is this? It kind of looks like an open world Grand Theft Auto-esque game. Let me try it out. Oh, no, this game feels very arcadey in comparison. I don't like this at all. So, I mean, I suppose that's what I expect people, that's how I expect people to react to this game if they're new to it. But if you know that you love Saints Row, and you're in for a modern day Saints Row, like, look no further, I guess.
Yeah. I do like the character creator. I mean, you've been able to recreate yourself pretty well.
I mean, I don't have hair that big, but it is quite cool that I could put on.
You aspire to have hair that big.
Yeah, I've got I've got my hair, got my black jeans and a hoodie and some sneakers. It's looking good.
It's all the character options are very like caricature like I did like there was like one face type that was like chiseled and it just looked like an action figure, which was really funny to me.
Yeah, you can add definition to your muscles and stuff, which was quite funny. I was like, I want to be super ripped or not.
Or not, yeah, exactly. It's a very robust character creator. I actually spent quite a bit of time just doing stuff in there. And then was very disappointed that, like, well, not disappointed, but like my character looked good, but some of the animation work doesn't look that good. Like sprinting looks really strange, I think. So, yeah, it just feels a bit uneven in that regard.
But
yeah, it's mindless fun. I definitely think it's that. Like if you go in with that mindset, like I'm here to just burn multiple hours in this open world that is very low stakes, I think.
And there are a bunch of activities to do. So I've played enough at least now that I don't think I've unlocked every activity the game has to offer. But sorry, that animation is weird. But I've unlocked more than just the main quests. So I've just got to a point now where I can create my own enterprises on the map, which is pretty cool. So it's a means of getting income in the game. So I don't know if you saw earlier in the footage, I opened up my phone and I was able to transfer money into my main account. So I basically have, the game's got a system where you passively earn income from your ventures. It'll be like you're earning $2,000 an hour. You can earn a maximum of like $20,000 a day. But the more ventures you put up, the more businesses you create, the higher their rates of income on that front, if that makes sense. So you can make you can open up a map and then cough up a lump sum to make like a hospital which is used to do insurance fraud. And that generates income for you. So I've only just got to that, but that's like one example of a side activity you can do. There's another app on the phone where you do wanted missions where you can go take out, you can take on bounties to hunt certain people. So it's like side quests. So the world is full of things to do as well, which is pretty cool. I've only just scratched the surface really, but I think there is a fair bit to do in this crazy world, outside of just the main missions. Which you'd expect. Not just main mission.
Yeah,
which you'd expect.
Oh, look at this crew with their fucking Daft Punk helmets. That's great.
They're called the Idols. That's it.
I do like them. They look pretty cool.
So yeah, look. Okay. The game's rough around the edges, I acknowledge it, but I loved Saints Row 3 and 4, so I think I'm going to enjoy just digging into this game even further. I mean, I've enjoyed the opening hours, so, jank and all, I'm there for it.
It's not the greatest looking game either. It's got some really good lighting, but aside from that,
the lighting, it's weird how I guess the theme is for this game that, I guess what we've been saying is that it feels like it's 10 years old. And it's weird that visually,
for better or worse in that way.
Yeah, but it's weird that visually there are moments where it's like, damn, the lighting looks really good. And then in the same breath, you're like, oh no, this looks a bit dated.
Yeah,
now.
the opening mission when you're in that fake Wild West sort of area, I was like, man, this looks so flat and kind of bad. And then straight after that, you drive home in the early mornings and the sun is rising and it's coming over the very deserty area that you're in. And it's like, this actually looks pretty good. So why does it look so uneven,
Yeah.
Yeah, at least there's lots of performance options on PS5. You can run it at 1080p or 1440p or 4K, and then run it at high quality or high frame rate modes, or enable ray tracing. You've got a lot of options to play around with, which is pretty neat. But
Sure,
but that's Saints Row. I'm pretty sure you'll be playing more of it.
I'll be playing more. Yeah,
I don't know if I'll be playing much more of this, to be entirely honest. I'll play a bit more to give it a fair shake, but whether I'll finish it is debatable.